Hello everyone, Vic Micolucci here with your Jacksonville Sheriff, TK Waters, and today we are going to be releasing the findings of our 2024 Community Survey, and there's certainly some very important points in here, Sheriff, and it all revolves around transparency and us working for our community to make sure that we are as responsible and responsive as possible to our great citizens.
Well, we are 100%. The community is our customer. And it's very important to find out what they have to say to us about the job we're doing. And we use that as a measuring stick and look at it and figure out how we can improve and how we can always continue to get better.
Measuring stick, some would say it's a report card, and it's also a guide for us to see how we're going to shape JSO in the future. So this is part of that survey, and I want to just start off with the methodology. In years past, it had been done locally in the city of Jacksonville. This time, the survey went to a professor at the University of Florida in Gainesville who, let's just say, doesn't have any skin in the game. Yeah. People would say, okay, well, JSO commissioned this survey, JSO is releasing this survey. How do we know that it's not biased toward JSO?
Well, first of all, I don't know this professor. I do know that he's a professional in what he does. And I want to make sure that we went outside of Jacksonville to a completely objective person to conduct this for us. Every time we do one of these, we have to get someone to do it every single time. And it's done every 2 years for our accreditation standards. And it's very important that we get it done because it tells us where we need to go, what we need to do to improve. And I've learned some things just from this one that are pretty important for us. But it's very important for us to get an objective view. And I felt like this was the best way to get that done.
Mm-hmm. So we're going to go over some of the facts here, and you'll see that there's some positive results and also some room for improvement.
Correct.
And growth within our city.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I want it.
So let's get straight to the job approval right now. This is the nitty gritty, and you've got the numbers here. So when the pollsters asked, is JSO handling its job well, we are looking at 68.1% of those who responded said, yes, they are. And actually 34% said that they're handling it extremely well. They strongly agree with this. And this is a big increase, 13% higher than just in 2022 when we did the last survey. What does that mean?
That means that there's still a lot of room for improvement, a lot of room to get better. I'm happy that we're going in the right direction, but I always want to get better. If it's 68%, I want it to be 98% if we can get there. I don't know if we ever will, but if we're always striving to get better and continuously improve for our community, then we're going to do that. So, and you're probably going to find that that's going to be the answer for a lot of these categories, because I always see room for improvement.
And speaking of improving, we also see improvement with people who feel safe in their neighborhoods. We're looking at 89.2% of respondents that said that they feel safe, and 60% of those strongly agree. And obviously, no matter where you live in this town, whichever district, whichever street you live on, that's one of the basic human rights. You want to feel safe in your home.
Absolutely. There's no reason that people should not feel safe in their community, in their homes. And I really like that number. That says a lot to me. But we are going to strive to make that better, because we want every person in this city to feel safe, in this county to feel safe in their homes, in their neighborhoods. That's extremely important. In order to have a thriving community, people need to feel safe. And we're working on that, but I'm pleased also with that number.
And there's work to be done, because we obviously in these graphs see the red area where people disagree, and that's to be expected. So there's work to be done for those. Now let's go into something that has always been a hot topic.
Yep.
Officer-involved shootings. We know nationally, big conversation, continues to be. So here was the statement. JSO is doing a good job investigating officer-involved shootings. And we also did, Sheriff, see an increase there. It's up 6.6% from 2022. So nearly 54% of respondents said yes. Little less of a margin there.
Yep.
But what's your take on this, and what needs to be done to get those numbers up?
So what we've done is to continue to release information and talk about information and talk about the reasons why we are in locations and we're doing things the way that we do them. and why, the result of it was an officer-involved shooting. Quite frankly, I think people need to know that. But I do also believe, Vic, that there's a segment of our population, no matter what you do, no matter how hard you try to explain or show, it becomes somewhat political. And maybe they don't want to know the truth. Maybe they don't. And it's very difficult to the nuances involved in policing and everything that it takes to do it is very difficult to explain. And it's very difficult to put a person in that police officer's seat when he approaches that car where someone may point a pistol at him, or when he's going to deal with a domestic situation and he gets attacked or she gets attacked very, very quickly without any warning. And there's a couple of decisions and choices that you have to make. So what we try to do is we try to transfer that information on by giving information as quickly, as efficiently as possible, explaining or giving you the details and facts as quickly as we can. I've given myself 3 weeks to make sure that our public is properly informed about officer-involved shootings, unless, of course, there's something that stops that from happening. And I think you see increases there because people are honestly pleased to see the explanations. Sometimes they're not as pleasant as people might like, and quite frankly, there's a national narrative that seems to be dying a bit, where we're almost, and I don't want to frustrate people, we're almost guilty until proven innocent. Well, we're working on making sure we get that information out to make sure that people know that our officers are doing the very best they can in sometimes very, very difficult situations.
Sure, and for everybody watching, you can find those critical incident briefings on JSO social media channels, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. You can find it right there. You can look up the past critical incident briefings, and that's where you'll see the body cam. You'll see a lot of the evidence there for those cases. So jumping off of that, here was another one. Figure 9 says, JSO does a good job of following up on allegations of police misconduct with administrative and criminal investigations. So this is internal affairs, right? So a citizen comes with a complaint of misconduct, whether it's true or not, it's going to be looked at. And what we're looking at is 52% of people either somewhat agree or strongly agree. That's also up from 2022. But you have a lot of people that maybe aren't sure or disagree with that. So there's room to educate about how that works.
Yeah, so it's very important. So that we have 2 units that deal with officer misconduct. On the criminal side, which is our integrity unit, and then on the administrative side, which is our internal affairs unit. Every case that comes to the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office in a complaint form, a formal complaint, which is very important, a formal complaint gets investigated, either at the lieutenant's level, which is the watch commander, or internal affairs themselves. It gets a number and it gets investigated. And then there's a response to what that investigation helped determine for us. So we do that in every case. The criminal cases, we tell you about. If an officer gets arrested for DUI, we tell you about. If an officer gets arrested for misconduct with an underage person or a sex case or something like that, we tell you about it. And listen, I recognize that with that comes scrutiny, but I'm a big man. I can take the scrutiny. It's important for people to understand that we want to show them what's going on within this agency and within the police officers that they've entrusted the health and safety and welfare with.
So there's another section in this survey about use of resources. We'll go over this quickly, but a lot of people do not feel that JSO has enough officers to meet the city's needs. Right. Obviously, the city continues to grow exponentially. Yeah. We are getting more officers on our streets and working on that thanks to our partnership and some agreements with the city of Jacksonville.
That's correct. So we're seeing our department, and I think the mayor's administration, mayor's office has done a good job of listening to us and helping us get the things that we need. The city council is also helping us get the things that we need. And I think as a jointly, as a unified government, when it comes to making sure we take care of the public and the public's needs, they are on board with that. And we don't want to overburden it. We don't want to go too fast. We don't want to take on more than we can handle. But I think we are going in the right direction for a city our size. Our city is no longer a small city. It's I used to call it a big small city. It's not a big small city anymore. It's a big city. And we are continuing to grow, and our agency is growing with it. And not also is our agency just growing with it, but our agency is getting better, and we're really, it's a tough application process. It's not easy to get through. Anyone that wants to be a part of JSO should go to joinjso.com and fill the application out if you meet the requirements, because we are hiring, and we're hiring the best and the brightest.
So speaking of the best and brightest, being courteous and competent is a very important part of someone's job performance, and the officers that are out there on the streets are told to be courteous and be competent and to be as respectful as possible in sometimes very stressful and dangerous situations. So I want to share the results there about encounters that the respondents have had with JSL personnel, and the questionnaire asked, did you find them to be courteous and competent? Overwhelmingly, nearly 70% said yes, and 50% strongly agree, definitely yes. We're looking at some other numbers here where maybe some people said that they may be discourteous, disrespectful, judgmental, condescending. There's some police inaction in their opinions, or late response. How does the agency train and continue to push that message, hey, be courteous, do what you can, do the best job you can?
So when I came into office, I wanted to refocus our mindset on being a service-oriented industry or service-oriented profession. We are servants. We are public servants, and that is a very important, word in that phrase, servant. And we have to make sure that we deliver the service that people expect. Now, sometimes, I'm going to be completely honest, sometimes if you find yourself in a situation where there's physical force involved, where it's not going to be a very nice type situation. Sometimes we are called to situations that aren't very what we consider nice, but we expect our officers, we train our officers to be very professional in responding to those situations. And if they're not, then we deal with those accordingly.
Now we've talked about accountability, but transparency and community engagement, really the outward-facing JSO, not necessarily about the criminal interactions, but about really showing how the sausage is made. We did a video on the budget. We're doing this video on the feedback. And we're also going to post this, by the way, on our website, JAXSHERIFF.org. We're looking at about 56% that believe that JSO is getting better with accountability compared to years past. And also 56% believe that JSO is improving when it comes to transparency, 54% saying that JSO is getting better with community engagement compared to years past. What have you been doing, and what do you continue to do? And I know this, but I want to put it out there to show that we are committed to that transparency, to engaging with the public, and to really, as you said, being public servants.
Listen, we are trying, and we're working on everything possible. This weekend, for example, on Saturday morning, I'll be out on another sheriff's walk. I want to make sure people know that I'm very attentive to the needs of the community. No matter where you are, it doesn't matter what side of town you live on, we're going to pay you a visit. We have a very robust community engagement section, which does so many different things. I could be here all day naming them, but they're there. We have, of course, our public-facing things that we do. We brought you on board to help us continue to get better as we move into the future, because there are certain things that, quite frankly, as police officers, we don't know. And I think the great part about leadership, or one of the most important parts about leadership, is knowing what you don't know and being willing to go outside the box to get someone there to help you achieve the level that you want to achieve. And by doing this, we're going to start a podcast soon where we can talk about subjects. We're doing these to make sure the public knows about our budget, why we have a community survey, what that means to us. All these different things are designed to bring the public inside the sheriff's office so they can see what their sheriff's office is, what their sheriff is about, and how we conduct our job on a daily basis. And there's a lot of stuff that goes on here. I only wish that we can show every member of this community exactly how all this stuff how all this stuff works. There's a lot to it. It's not just standing up in front of the news media and talking about different things and that come up, but there's a lot to it. And we have, I think, some of the most amazing people in this country in different segments of this job to do it, to make this place successful.
And we're going to continue to tell those stories and push it, and that's why it's so important that everybody follows the JSO channels and follows along, because there's so much good information here that we're able to put out there. And we're also putting information out that maybe not be so pretty and maybe not necessarily complimentary of the sheriff's office from time to time.
And let me say this, people aren't silly. People understand when they're being misled, right? I'm not interested in misleading people. It's very difficult to mislead someone and continue with a lie over and over again. So what I want people to realize and understand is all this stuff is being done to make sure you know that I believe in accountability, not just for the agency itself, but for myself. And stand up and talk to folks about what's going on inside the JSO and how important it is for us to be as transparent as absolutely possible. Now, I know there's certain people that aren't going to accept it. I've been in this job long enough to know there's certain groups that are going to say, nah, police just do whatever they want to do, they lie. That's there. There's probably nothing I can do to ever change that. But the people that are reasonable and really are interested and invested, which is most of the people in Jacksonville, we're speaking to that group of people.
And we'll show them the data, and we'll show them the responses to surveys like this, and we'll give them the facts that they need. So, Sheriff, thank you for your time. I know that you're a busy guy, but appreciate your time as we, brief our community. Listen, this is a long survey, and you can look at it. You can break it down district by district, because we are well aware that depending on where you live in the city, you might have different challenges. You might have different things that you want to see improved upon. So you can break that down. It's all on our website. We're going to give you the link, but it's right there on JAXSHERIFF.org. You can follow through with everything there. And of course, if you have any questions, reach out to us at JSO, and we'll do everything we can to answer those for you.